What's up everybody, it's Billy Boozer and I'm back again with another Coffee Shop Talks, but today I have an extremely special guest. A guest that probably doesn't know how important he was in my life, and I'll tell you about that at some point in time in this conversation, but I've got Ryan Carson of Team Treehouse, the founder and CEO, and also once of Carsonified and also once of Think Vitamin.
Sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so I started at Think Vitamin actually.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take your hand
yes,
for that.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
was a Think Vitamin person. So
that's amazing. Thank you.
I guess I'll start really quick. So my story starts with you. Is that when I was, I guess, this is probably 8 or 9 years ago, I was working in the nuclear services industry. And
nuclear services?
Yes, exactly. I was a 3D person. I did like 3D drafting and stuff like that, and making 3D visualizations. And it was the worst job I've ever had in my entire life. I hated it more than anything. And I sat down and talked to my wife and said, I need a change. And so I started staying up every single night, reading books and all these different things, all the O'Reilly books and the CSS Masters and all these kind of different books, and then found Think Vitamin and started kind of consuming some of that content. I think Nick Pettit might have been doing some content then.
He was our first teacher. He's still with us today.
Yes.
Eight years later.
I met Nick. I went down to the Treehouse office in Orlando
No way. That's awesome.
during a WordPress conference 7 years ago maybe, and got to, right when y'all introduced the frog.
Right, Mike the Frog.
Yes, Mike the Frog. And so I got the opportunity to go down there, but I just started learning and sitting down, and my first introduction to Rails was in that, and then I went on to read Michael Hartle's Rails book, and then actually went here locally to a school called Big Nerd Ranch.
Oh yeah, I love them. They're great.
And did a Rails class there. And then just kind of kept going and trying to learn and learn and learn and learn. And now I just kind of consume so much that, yeah, exactly. So we build all kinds of really cool stuff. But my kind of genesis story is that I've had the opportunity to just be able to learn to code from some of the stuff that you've created, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Well, we're honored to have served you, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's literally why I started the company, to empower people to change their lives by learning how to code. You're the reason, right?
And now I've started my own company. I've actually started multiple companies, built probably 50 pieces of software, built some of the coolest software that you could ever imagine, cybersecurity products, products that do all kinds of crazy stuff with Instagram, just really cool, fun stuff. Awesome. We're even building a new product right now, which is the kind of probably one of the bigger kind of moonshots. We're building an API as a service, so you can hook into any type of application without building the application infrastructure and making APIs. So
that sounds attractive.
Yes, it's pretty cool. Yes, exactly. So so it's really fun, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
It's you are the reason I started the school. People who want to learn something and then create new things and start companies. I mean, this is, I think, what society doesn't quite understand yet, but will be so obvious in probably 5 years, is anybody can create code. Almost anybody can start companies now. It's not something you have to do by going to Stanford or having rich parents. Like it's something for everybody. So. Yeah,
and I guess as a side note, I also dropped out of college.
Hey, woo! So, good choice.
So I dropped out of college after I had already taken computer science, business law, architecture, all of these other things, and all of those things were small incremental pieces of the things that I know how to do now. I still use all of those skill sets, but I taught myself some software, and actually I walked into a interview once. It was just for kind of a temporary job, and I didn't know how to price myself yet. As a consultant, you never know how to price yourself. And I was going like $30 or $40 an hour. And the person that was going to make the decision on how much money I made walked out of the room. And so someone said, hey, what are you going to ask for? And I had already taken, I'd shown a bunch of Rails apps that I built. I had just gotten done with the Big Nerd Ranch Rails class. And I said, I don't know, like $50 an hour. And they said, listen, ask for $100 an hour, and he will say yes. Yes, exactly. He walks back in the room. I asked for $100 an hour, and they paid me $100 an hour. And then I ended up continuing to work for him. So.
Yeah, the whole idea of pricing your services or getting paid what you're worth is this fascinating experiment in psychology. And one thing that I get asked over and over again, so I just want to tell anyone who's watching this, and it relates to this, how do I actually get into tech, or how do I start a company, or how to build a product without a computer science degree? Like with no backing, what do I do? And I think it's a playbook that's very similar to yours. You basically learn enough hard skills to do something very basic. Usually it's a website. It could be an app, but that's harder. And we say, okay, just learn that. HTML, CSS, a tiny bit of JavaScript, and then go to your friends and say, can I build a site for you for free?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's weird, but sure. And then they say yes, and you do it, and you get a little confidence, and then you go to the local business, like the local butcher, or some tiny small business with a really crap website, and you say, can I build it for $50?
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, that's weird, but okay. And then you just do it again and again and ratchet your prices up and up and up, and all of a sudden you're charging $100 an hour.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, and people never would guess that you just don't have any traditional background. And this is the way the universe works. It's all signaling, right? The only value of a college degree is signal. That's it. So if you boot up your own signal by building something and saying, I charge $100 an hour, then that's real. Then you're worth that.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the software world, when you start getting into it, we start talking about it in pattern matching, right? Being able to understand the patterns that are associated with the people that are, or the things that are going to be successful in the applications you build, or the people that you interact with.
Yes, it's totally pattern matching.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, we've got a bunch of venture firms around here, and they all get the whole, pattern matching thing and being stuck to a thesis. But I think overall, what I found is the thing that you had to get over is, one, you have to be able to teach yourself how you learn, or how to learn, right?
Yep.
And then the last thing is just fear, right? Like, I'm a big fan of fake it till you make it. Like, I mean, this is, you've got to be able to get past the fear of saying, yes, I can do something, because a lot of times people give you a lot more rope to hang yourself than I think you realize. So.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Like, it's a real thing. I learned how to do sales in the last about 18 months, and I didn't think I could sell anything. I was like, I'm a product guy, I understand how to build great products, I don't really understand B2B, and this is kind of a side story, but I'll just tell it real quick. So I had one of my CEO of a competitor tell me that he was going to crush me. Straight up, Ryan, we're going to crush you, just so you know. And I was like, okay, thanks for telling me that. And it lit like this fire inside me that I had no idea existed, but it meant that I was gonna have to go sell. Like, I was gonna have to go sell to enterprise. And so I literally Googled, like, I went to YouTube and was like, how to do salesperson stuff, right? And I taught myself, right? And so I think, but I absolutely felt like I was faking it forever. And even now, like, I'm closing big deals and we're growing and everything's great. And I'm like, I don't know, am I a salesperson? So I guess anyone who's watching should know, you basically always feel like an imposter forever. And you're right, you just have to like shove it down and not listen to it.
The sales side's really interesting, because the thing that has always been weird for people with me is they're like, oh, you're a software engineer, you build software, right? And they don't realize, like, why are you talking to me this way? Like, why do I feel as though you could sell something to me? Like, and it's one of those things that a lot of times when I talk to people, it gets described in this very like unicorn-esque sense, where you can build something, you can sell that thing, you can think about product, you can think about what it means to source marketing information from your customer and things like that. And I think that really comes down to whether you have an entrepreneurial spirit or you have an inclination to be entrepreneurial.
Right.
And I just think that that's generally neat. So something that I've never really known is, did you have any partners or anything like that with Treehouse, or was it just you?
No, it was, well, I did, and it's my wife.
Oh, really?
Right. I mean, so I'm a sole founder, but really I'm not.
Yeah.
So Jill was the key. So she and I started our last business, Carsonified, together.
My wife is like staring at me over here.
Right,
She's the key, right?
She's the key. You're the key. And we all know this is true, right? I mean, and so we started a company and worked together. And then we had Jackson, my son, and she decided to be a full-time mom, which is awesome. And then about 2 years later, we had the idea for Treehouse. And so, you know, I was running this business where we were doing in-person training at these conferences and workshops.
So Treehouse was initially the in-person stuff?
Yeah, we were almost like a boot camp in the beginning. Like we basically did these one-day workshops. We literally taught people PHP. It's called like how to build enterprise PHP web apps.
Yeah, this is prior to Laravel and everything.
Yeah,
so.
another sexy name, right?
Yes.
And so, so we would do these
Code
things.
Igniter was the big PHP framework then.
Right. Yeah, but you couldn't. But like you said, it was either you got an O'Reilly book, or you like found code somewhere online and then you messed with it. There was no real online learning. And so I did not start Treehouse to help rich people get richer. I'm really activist minded, and the whole reason I started the company initially was to try to help people change their lives by learning how to code. That's it. And so I was running this business that it was like, let's charge thousands of dollars for someone to come to this expensive event. They have to get a hotel, a flight. Like we're basically helping privileged rich people get richer. And that's okay, but I don't want to do that. And so we had Jackson, and I was like, I don't want to die doing this. You know, having kids makes you really mortal, right? You're like, I'm gonna die.
Absolutely.
I better get my shit together, right?
And it makes you want to work really fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like,
because you see how fast they change.
Right. So I thought, this is not the business that I want to die doing, and it just doesn't matter. And so how do we do this, but at scale, so we can help more people by making it more accessible? And my wife, we were just chatting while we were brushing our teeth one morning. She's like, well, we already know all these speakers, you know, at our events. Why don't we film them and put the video on the internet and charge $25 a month? Yeah. So that was Treehouse.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, why don't we do that?
Let's do that.
Right. And so we used cash from Carsonified, because it was, you know, it was a tiny company, 15 people. It was profitable enough that we could build Treehouse out of that. So we bootstrapped it, and she's my emotional support. You know, I'm always like complaining to her or asking for advice, things I'd never tell anybody, right? So she's so tired of listening to me. But yeah, she's really my co-founder.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the genesis of, you know, how you guys started realizing that you really didn't want to charge a ton of people a ton of money to do these things. I borrowed $5,000 from my parents to do the Big Nerd Ranch thing, which was a very similar model at that time. And they've since launched some other products, and then I paid her back really quickly and got that moved on. And then the genesis of Coffee Shop Talks was, it wasn't a coffee shop talk. I just happened to be talking to a guy in a coffee shop, and I knew that I had a network of people that were technologists that followed me. And I saw a post from a friend that I had interviewed 2 years ago, and he couldn't find a job. And he was a web developer, but he specifically focused on like WordPress and things like that. So it was a little bit niche, you know, and he had lost his confidence. And so I sat down with him, and we did our first episode of Coffee Shop Talks, which was literally, I was like, listen, I've got a network of people, LinkedIn's got some video that I can put on there, and what if I just videoed our conversation and then put it out to my network and see if you can get a job through that.
Wow, that was the first one.
Yeah, it was the absolute first one. And so within 2 days, he had multiple consulting gigs, multiple places coming to him, talking to him about potentially working for him. And it was so satisfying being able to just take the thing that I had, which is an asset that everyone always tries to figure out how to leverage, the people that are around you, the network, right? And I was actually able to provide value to someone else and help them find a job.
That's
so
amazing.
that was kind of the genesis of it.
Yeah, you're mission driven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same as me. I mean, so the reason why I'm in Atlanta is because we're launching this really exciting project with MailChimp. Yeah. And the story behind all this is that I looked at my own company about 1.5 years ago and realized that we were predominantly white and predominantly male. And I thought I was like a very moral person, like I cared about social justice, and I just thought, wait a minute, you know, how did I do that? And why did I do that? And what happens? And so I just took a hard look at myself and my own company and went through like a pretty deep journey teaching myself about, you know, the systemic racism and sexism and institutionalized racism and sexism we have in America. And it was kind of like the Matrix, where you didn't see anything, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's all you see. And you know, as a white male who's super privileged, I began to realize there are reasons why the tech industry is so white and so male, and it can be changed.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is that I have all this power as like a CEO, as an executive, as a white male, to actually go to other powerful white male CEOs and executives and say, you can change this.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's a choice, and here's how to do it. And we built basically a program for ourselves. And so what we did is we went to the Boys and Girls Club and said, you know, you have amazing talent. They don't trust us because, you know, we don't know each other. There's, you know, we're all white, so why would they trust us? There's no relationship, but they trust you. So can you tell them that we want to invest in them, that we believe in them? It's not charity, it's an investment. And we will invest in their education, and then we'll hire them as apprentices. And we kicked it off, and it was crazy successful.
That's amazing.
And it was a lot of work, but it was simple, right? And so we had this amazing class of apprentices come into Treehouse. We onboarded them, we mentored them, we trained ourselves on diversity, equity, inclusion, because, you know, basically it turns out as white people, we think things are normal, but it's actually just white culture.
Yeah.
Right? And it turns out that's not inclusive for other cultures.
Yeah.
And so just kind of learning all this stuff. And it worked so well that I started to have friends that run companies say, can we install this in our company?
Yeah.
And it was like a light bulb went off, and I realized, oh my God, like, I think this could change thousands and thousands and thousands of people's lives.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
by using, not because I'm some white savior, but because I can use my power and my privilege as a white CEO to get other white CEOs to do this. And it's just, it was life-changing to have that moment happen, and then to have MailChimp say, we want to install the system.
That's amazing.
And so it's called TalentPath, and we are working with a ton of companies now. Mindbody, Chegg, Jama, Envision, MailChimp, and the list goes on and on. And it's neat because, especially being in Atlanta, so we actually met at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial.
Which is a really cool spot.
It blew my mind, right? So we had our meeting there this morning, and it was just
Is that the same thing as the Civil Rights Museum here in Atlanta?
I don't know.
If it isn't, that's the next place you need to go.
Got
like
it.
it's absolutely
Go
amazing.
there.
Yeah,
Got
it's
it.
fantastic.
It's basically, you know, Dr. King's and his wife's, you know, tomb are there. It's a beautiful, amazing place. And I just thought, you know, it's something that I feel honored to be a part of this, that I could actually play a small part in changing the system, right? And this is why I started Treehouse. You know, the belief that anybody should have access, right? And the doors just need to be open, right? And so now
as the door closes,
right, right, open, close. Yeah. So it's fun to be able to be working on a business that I truly believe will change people's lives, and it's not some, you know, service that helps you get fries faster. It's like, no, this is like going to get people, you know, amazing paying jobs, and then that money can flow into their families and into their community, and then they can get equity in these tech companies, right? And then they can start tech companies, and it's like, this is what you and I have been able to do as white folks for a long time. Yeah. And it's just,
it's a paradigm shift in the way, like, we don't realize that they're like certain communities are not exposed to certain paradigms, right? So the idea of when you go to work for a company and they give you a portion of that company, or you're able to work into a portion of that company, right? That's not something that's really shared very normally. Like we're normal in that sense.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have access to all that, and that's how wealth is created, right? Wealth is created by owning equity. Yeah. Right? And so getting people to the point where they can participate in that ownership is when we truly start to see society change. And part of this is exciting because, you know, I'm doing this for social justice reasons, but the reality is it's actually more profitable for companies to have diverse teams. So the data literally says you make 30% more profit if you have a team that matches the diversity. of America. 50% women, 14% Black African American, 13% Latinx. And so it's kind of nice because I can also convince the evil capitalists, CEOs that they should do this, for money reasons.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying yes because they know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So I'm somewhat on the evil capitalist side generally, but what I think
you have morals. So
yes, absolutely, morals are absolutely imperative to the situation. But what's interesting is I don't think those things have to be mutually exclusive, right?
They don't.
And so just the concept of being able to come into business, say not only is this going to be better for your business, not only is this going to be better for your community, but it's going to be better overall for everything. It's going to grow everything for society.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and so I spoke this year at the Technology Association of Georgia on a panel about diversity and inclusion, and then we've had 3 coffee shop talks to this point that have specifically been focused on diversity and inclusion. Here in Atlanta Tech Village, we have a program that is like a pre-accelerator that is specifically focused on diversity and inclusion and bringing minority communities into the fold and helping them understand it. And so, and also, I think generally you've come to the right spot because this was the genesis point for the civil rights movement, right? And I, some of the underlying tones of my conversations that have come out of diversity and inclusion have specifically been around, if it's going to happen, it should happen here, right?
Yeah,
we should fundamentally do it here, right? And we should lead the charge here. And I even know people, I have a friend that lives in an area of Atlanta that's been a difficult area to be able to get out of. And he's a software engineer, works for, I think it's called Team X, it's a large WP group. And he has a program where he brings in inner city kids and helps them build bikes. And then when they get done building the bike, they can take the bike along with them, and that's their kind of thing to learn, right? Nice. And so that's him here, and he's a software engineer doing that. So I think in our community, I think it's really important. So
it does. I mean, in general, coming to Atlanta, it feels more inclusive, and it feels more normal in that sense. Like it's encouraging. I'm definitely seeing a shift in conversations at an executive level, like about this, and it gives me hope that even though we have the president we do, that we have business owners who believe in these things and are doing something about it. It's just so cool.
So one of the things, and the very last thing that I do on Coffee Shop Talks every single time is I have an audience. Now, your audience is absolutely huge, but my audience is specifically focused on technology for the most part, and the intersection of startups and enterprise. And so, is there anything that my audience can do to help you?
Oh wow, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't think you'd say that. Okay. I think we just need more people to know that they can create diverse talent at their companies. So if they have connections to executives who make decisions about hiring engineers and hiring product designers, tell them about TalentPath. It's our Treehouse product that can plug into companies and do that. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is just try to be encouraging to anyone who's learning something new that has massive impostor syndrome. Give them a smile and tell them it's okay not to know what you're doing. And those would be my 2 asks.
So where can we find, is there anywhere we can find some information about the program you guys are creating?
So if you just Google Treehouse TalentPath,
you
can also go to teamtreehouse.com/go/talentpath. But if you just Google Treehouse TalentPath, you'll find it.
Cool, awesome. And anywhere that we can find you or anything
I'm everywhere. If you just Google Ryan Carson.
Yes, Google Ryan Carson.
When
you're on the internet for like the last 15 years and you've been creating things, it's really difficult to get away from
I got my name and everything, so I'm just Ryan Carson on everywhere.
Yeah, I've got BillyBoozer.com. I have not updated it in a while, so don't judge me, but
I'll check it out.
Well, cool. Well, this has been Coffee Shop Talks. It has been an absolute pleasure to have Ryan Carson on with me today, and I hope everyone has a great week, and I hope this added value. Make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments below, please tag anybody you think should hear this conversation, anything about diversity and inclusion, any comments you have about ways that we can help our communities become better. And so I appreciate it. Thank you. Coffee Shop Talks out. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me on the show.
It's super informal most of the time. Most of the time I'm actually in coffee shops.
Oh, right.
So, like,
or almost in a coffee shop.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes because the noise. Like the most